It's that time of year again. October's rolled around and therefore it's spooky season. And I can't think of a better way to spend my time than playing Luigi's Mansion, of course. Oh, and also Castlevania games. Yeah, did you know I'm a huge Castlevania fan? I really love Castlevania. It's one of my favorite franchises to play during this time of year, and I've played a lot of Castlevania. I own just about every game in the franchise in some capacity, whether it be from Konami's more recent collections or on authentic hardware from the old days. I enjoy these games a lot, and no stronger do I feel about those than the Igavanias. Your Symphony of the Night, your DS trilogy, your GBA games, they're all some of the funnest games to play in this genre. A game that falls into this exact category is today's indie game I will be discussing, Tozihua Night, Order of the Alchemists. I've been watching this game's development for a long time, and I've always loved what I've seen. The developer behind this game has been pouring a lot of time and effort into this, and I have been watching them over the years as they develop this game that reminds me of some of the best games in the Castlevania franchise. What I was not prepared for was to be given the opportunity to get a review code and play this game ahead of its official release date of October 27th for Steam and October 31st for the Nintendo Switch. So a huge shout out to DannyGaray for giving me a review code. Now, all the footage you will be seeing is primarily from the early game sections. I do not want to post anything that's considered spoilery. And this is, once again, just like my Ruffian the Riverside video, going to be more of a non-scripted, general thoughts on the game video, rather than a more traditional review that I like to do. Because I've been playing this game for the last few days, and I just wanted to get my general thoughts about it out there. Because it's a fun game, and I do have some issues with it, but overall, I do think that this game is worth playing, and I'm here to talk about why. I want to avoid talking about the game's story at length because I think it's something that you should experience for yourself, and it being a new game, I don't want to get into the spoiler territory. So, here's a general synopsis. You play as a game named Xandria. Xandria is kind of a cold-hearted person. However, she does have a moral compass, and she does what's right in the end. What she'll be going up against is a group of bad people consisting of various characters, such as a character named Johannes, who appears to be the main bad guy of the game, and his followers such as Eva, a girl in a mask, and various others. Along the way, you'll also encounter other characters that are good, like Margaret, who's an alchemist and gives you powers. And that's the general gist of the story. Stop the bad guy. There's more to it, obviously, but I don't want to get too heavily into the spoiler territory, so I'll just recommend that you play the game yourself. Where this game truly shines, however, is its fantastic gameplay, beautiful presentation, and amazing soundtrack. Tozihua Night is very similar to your more open-ended Castlevania games. It's an action RPG where you run around a giant open world fighting enemies, leveling up, and getting new abilities so that you can progress further in the game. Something that it does very similarly to Castlevania Symphony of the Night is that at the beginning of the game, you have more abilities to work with than you'll have after the prologue. You'll lose a lot of those abilities and have to regain them. It can certainly stink because some of these abilities are very basic features like being able to slide under a wall, so having to get that a second time is a little strange, but it's not something that this formula has strayed away from. Even my favorite Castlevania game, Order of Ecclesia, starts your character off very strong and then strips her away of all of her abilities, so I understand it. Speaking of Order of Ecclesia, something that this game does very similarly is how you get these abilities. Across the world, you'll find these glowing runes. By holding up on the D-pad, you will absorb them and gain their power. These powers can vary in different ways, like the aforementioned sliding under the ground, but you can also pick up other various upgrades for your abilities, such as making your hits stronger, and so on and so forth. You'll be able to learn spells that can shoot projectiles. It's a very fun system, and it definitely reminds me of some of the stronger Castlevania games. For the most part, Xandria is very fun to control. I've noticed that there's a bit of a strange delay sometimes in my button presses, and I'm hoping that this gets fixed in a day one patch, so we'll see. However, just note, I have been playing this on the Nintendo Switch, so hard to say how it plays on PC. I have not played it on PC yet, but there is a bit of a delay in your button presses, so hopefully that gets addressed soon. There's also a bit of stuttering in the frame rate occasionally, usually when something more heavy is going on screen. Hopefully that gets worked out as well. I should mention that I did play this on my Nintendo Switch 2, and it still had these issues. Again, hopefully these will get addressed later. As for the visuals, this game is a treat on the eyes. I love the art direction. Pixel art is always going to be something that I think ages exceptionally well when executed beautifully, and this game is no stranger to that. It has a lot of great effects going on that make the game world look amazing. And even Xandria herself, her sprites are beautifully animated. I love the way that she struts around, swings her whip, and summons all sorts of spells to down her enemies. Speaking of enemies, even the enemies look incredible. They're all varied and have different designs to them that make them stand out amongst the world that you'll be exploring, which is also a treat on the eyes. What I'm trying to say is this game is beautiful. Genuinely one of the better looking sprite-based indie games I've seen in a while. So too goes for the amazing character portraits that play during cutscenes. They aren't the most animated, and it does look like Xandria only has about 3 or 4 portraits to work with. However, I love the way they're presented with this almost watercolor paintbrush look to them. It's very pleasing on the eyes, and sticks out very strongly compared to the pixel art. I like this art direction a whole lot, and I also love the soundtrack. It is genuinely very similar to the DS Castlevania music, which is some of my favorite soundtracks in the series. I love how high energy and moody these music tracks can all get, depending on the scenario that you're in. Here are a few examples. Now, I have been praising this game, and I do think it has a lot of strong suits, but there is one thing that I should address that I do take issue with: the difficulty. This game does have difficulty options. There's an easy, medium, and hard level difficulty, and considering I'm not especially great at these games despite loving them, I did play this on the easy difficulty, and I was still getting myself beaten up left and right, seeing the game over screen more times than I'd like to admit. I do think that this game is fairly difficult even on the lowest difficulty, so just keep that in mind. It can get a bit frustrating. And I understand that that is how these games work. You are supposed to get stronger and therefore overcome the obstacles, but sometimes it does feel a little unfair, I'm not gonna lie, but it just motivates me to keep getting better at the game. So just bear in mind, it will be a little harder than games you're probably used to playing. That being said, it hasn't stopped me from playing it. I still enjoy this game a whole lot. It just kicks my butt enough that I have to put it down for short periods here and there before I come back to it, much like a lot of the Castlevania games that follow suit with this. I know I'm bringing Castlevania up a lot, but the inspiration is being worn right on its sleeve. It's obvious that they were huge fans of Castlevania and they wanted this game to look, sound, and play like those games. And that's one of the reasons why it drew me in. It reminded me of these games that I love so much. Order of Ecclesia being the one that this reminds me of the most, and being that that's my favorite Castlevania game, I'm so glad that this game is similar to it in a lot of ways. So, do I recommend Tozihua Nights? Absolutely I do. Even with the occasional hiccups in the game performance and the difficulty being a little bit of a turnoff at times, this game is fantastic and I highly recommend people play it. Like I said, it will be releasing on Steam on October 27th, and it will be releasing on the Nintendo Switch on Halloween. The game will be $19.99 USD, and it's worth every penny. There's also a prequel game that they made a few years ago that you can get for $5 on the eShop. I haven't played that one yet, but it looks like a classic Castlevania game, so I'm pretty curious and I think I'll be checking that one out. Once again, a huge thank you to Danny for providing me with a review code for this game so that I could play it and share my thoughts with you all. My name is GamingSpex, thank you for watching, like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time. Happy Halloween!